about. Pero mírame ahora, shining anyway. God help me when I felt alone, and now my heart beats louder, brighter, ready to claim everything He promised. No more hiding who I am, no more dimming this glow. He turned my scars into stories, and my stories into fuego. I'm crowned by faith, look at me shining bright. He healed my corazón and helped me win this long fight. I rise con faith, with joy in my veins, dancing out the darkness like it never had my name. Crowned by faith, that's who I am. Crowned by faith, this is my comeback dance.
Well, hello and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Lyrics. I am Elena Rodriguez, and I am the author of Crowned by Faith, which is the book that we are covering in this series. And I am also the producer of the soundtrack that goes along with the book. So chapter by chapter by chapter, there is a song that goes deeper into telling the story that words just on paper, they can't capture. Music can capture a little something different. So we are having a little series where giving you the opportunity to ask the questions as you read along in the book. This book was designed to actually help you look at your own experiences in your life through the lens of God's love. And that is the piece that transforms all things. It's amazing when you're able to look at some of those moments that could have broken you, that maybe they did break you, but to be able to revisit them with a fresh perspective, and through the perspective of the one that matters the most, and that is our God. So that's really the whole basis of this book. If you have not gotten your copy of this hardback book, it's at crownedbyfaithcollective.com. You cannot find it anywhere else besides crownedbyfaithcollective.com, or unless you see me in person somewhere. But here's a little bit of a disclaimer. If you are there, say hello. If you are just jumping in for the very first time and you have no idea what we are doing here, you can catch replays on our Prospera TV Network YouTube channel. You can also catch them randomly playing on Roku, just different episodes. We've got several that are still getting loaded to Roku, but you can find it. You can find it on Prospera TV Network on YouTube. We have covered, this is actually chapter 10, and we have covered 11 chapters. Okay, we have covered 11 chapters, and the one coming up next is called Christmas Eve, and we actually covered that chapter the night before Christmas Eve because I felt it was very appropriate. But what we are going to be doing tonight is getting into some very sensitive subject matter. Kind of adult. We're going to have some adult talk here tonight. And this chapter, Called But Caged, is probably one of the most difficult chapters for me. Now, I know I've said that a couple times. The chapter that my dad left me when I was 8 years old, the chapter that my husband passed away, like the chapter this, the chapter that. There have been some very difficult chapters. However, this one, hey, sissy. However, this one is probably the most painful for me emotionally. So we may be here a little bit longer. We might start crying a little bit. I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen. However, I just wanted to put that piece out there. We will be covering some sensitive subject matter. We'll be getting real and raw, because I do believe that unveiling, ripping off the cover that hides all the shame that toxic emotional, abusive relationships can keep you hidden under. I believe it's time that we just rip that off and expose what gets hidden underneath so often, because someone out there is going through it themselves right now, and they need to know that what they're going through, they are not alone. There's nothing wrong with them. They didn't do anything to deserve this. But to also know that there are people out there that get it. There are people out there that understand. And the thing that happens when you've been in these types of relationships is you tend to hold it all in, because somehow along the way you become the bad one. When you're in those relationships with those narcissistic types of people, you become the bad one. No matter what they do, no matter how horrible it was, no matter what they did to trigger it, to push the buttons, all the things, it's your fault because you had a reaction. And it's just time that we just call bullshit on it and expose it for what it is, but also to let people know that if you are in it, you are not alone. You did not cause it. There is nothing wrong with you. You don't deserve this. You don't need to hide in shame. You don't have to punish yourself. But the reality is that it's like a yo-yo. And 1 minute you're out, the next minute you're back in. 1 minute you're out, the next minute you're back in. I get that too. Okay, don't beat yourself up, but hopefully in talking about this, you'll see that there is light at the end of the tunnel. So keep going through the hard stuff. Okay, so tonight we are going to get into some difficult topics. If you have gotten your book, let me know that you've gotten your book. If you have read this chapter and you have any questions along the way, feel free to ask them. I got nothing to hide. I got nothing to hold back. So I'm here to help. But we're going to start with a little bit of the chapter, and then we're going to break some lyrics down. This song called Broken Stronger tonight is actually the title of the very first book that I wrote, Broken Stronger. And we'll get into that in a little bit. However, Broken Stronger now means something different to me. And I see we've got some people viewing. So I hope that you say, hey, I hope that you let me know where you're tuning in from. Or maybe you're just being nosy and you want to just check it all out. Okay. But called but caged. Visions of stages, words of hope, and God's command, broken stronger. That's just a little line that I had opening this up, because this is where the turmoil and the internal struggle just beat me down. This is probably the hardest time of my life. And if you were here last week, you realize that I was so ready to go. My stepdad was, going to help. He had my back, and then he died during surgery. So once again, I feel like I am just dropped. I'm left, and I'm sitting in this doom. I'm in this toxic bomb. All right. So, hey, Muddy, I'd love to say things finally turned around, but they didn't. I kept holding on with everything I had, even when it meant breaking myself to keep us together. 2 fathers gone in 2 years left me thin and tender, and he knew exactly where to press. Anytime I stood up, anytime I whispered I was ready to go, he threw the same words back at me. You'll end up alone. Your boys will grow up and leave you, and you'll have nothing. He knew what buttons to push. Those words clinked like chains, and my old fear of being left kept me caged. Now, here we are going to get into some sensitive topic. And anyone that's ever been in a narcissistic, abusive relationship, I have a feeling that you'll be able to relate, because I know I cannot be the only one. My longing for love kept my heart wide open. And sex, well, that became his weapon. Every time I told him to leave, every time I swore I was done, he bargained for one last time. I craved love, and I kept confusing sex for love. Over time, it twisted into something I hated, and longed for. Duty dressed up as devotion until I'd catch myself begging him to stay. I was in a dark place. I hated me. I loved him. So I prayed, not for me, but for him. If I forgave more, loved harder, cared deeper, maybe I would finally be loved back. Now, I want to talk about this piece for just a minute. When you are in an emotionally abusive relationship and you're dripped with those like love bombs, okay? Like the love bombs, the gifts, the attention, the all the romance, all this stuff, you love that. And then when the emotional abuse comes and it like sucks that all away, you are left drained. It's like you're dry. It's like that sponge that's just dried out. And so when the love and the sex and the affection and the attention comes back, you feel like it's amazing. You feel like it's the best ever, that it's like so super passionate, that like it's on fire. But the reality is it's because you've been deprived from it. Because it's been like a punishment. So it's not that it's that great. If you're able to look back, it's not that it's that great. It's that you are that sponge looking for, the water, that emotional connection and the attention and the touches and all of that. You're starving for that. So then you convince yourself that it's so super passionate, that it's so amazing because it feels like it is. Until it's pulled from you once again. It's part of that yo-yo game. And it took me a long time to realize, like, God, I thought we were so great together. I thought it was like, this was how it was all the time. And those other times were just the exception. But I had it backwards. But I was too weak to recognize that. And so a lot of times when you're in these types of emotional abusive relationships, that is one of the leverage tools that will be used against you, because they want to pretend that they want to be with you, that they want to adore you, that they want to give you all this types of affection, because they know that you're starving for it. So they know they're going to win. And then they know they've just pressed reset. And then the cycle begins all over again. So just understand that if you are in that, understand that that's why. It's not that great. Chances are it would be so much better with somebody else that actually cared for you emotionally, but you can't see that because you're starving for the attention and the affection. So it's not really that great. It's just that you've been deprived of it for so long. Okay. So we have a truth here. All right. So we're going to play the very first snip. And like I said, we're going to get into some deeper topics. Sex is one of them. It's a very big one because it's like a puppet on a string when you're in this type of a relationship. All right. So let's listen to our first clip.
Behind these walls I wander, silence all around, whispers in the shadows where hope feels drowned. Locked inside this cage where fear weighs on my soul, a call igniting flames, a burning deep and whole.
Okay. So in the opening of this song, it's literally behind these walls I wander, silence all around. I am in my cage. I am in this house. I am in these four walls. And it was like a prison. And a lot of times that prison is your own mind. Because in those times that you're so strong, you're done with the bullshit, you have found that courage and you're just ready to go, and then they suck you back in, and they sex you all up, and they make you feel great, and you feel like $1 million all over again. It's all beautiful, it's all wonderful. Well, when the ball drops again, you hate yourself. You hate yourself because you knew better. And what starts to happen is in your own mind, you begin to not even trust yourself. You begin to think that maybe they do know what's better for you, because obviously you don't. Obviously you're weak. Obviously the things that you tell yourself really don't mean nothing, because you can't even follow through of what you swore you told yourself you were going to do this time. So when people have a hard time understanding what the emotional, mental part of this abuse does, this is plain Jane terms of actually why it becomes so difficult. Because you could look in the mirror and you could actually tell yourself you know better. You could tell yourself what you know that it is that you need to do. You logically can put steps together. But then you're sucked back in because you really just want to be loved. You want to be accepted. And then you believe it. And then you're proven once again. And then you're made to feel like the stupid one. You're made to feel like, why do I keep doing this? So this is an understanding that a lot of times people don't talk about this piece. You begin to not trust yourself. You begin to recognize your mind is in this mental prison, but yet you don't know how to break free. Chances are, if you've been in an emotionally abusive, narcissistic relationship, toxic, all the things, your money is jacked up. It's tied up in that. They have control over that too. So you really don't feel like you have a way out. And so the cycle repeats and it repeats and it repeats. And so these are the things that are hard to talk about, but must be talked about. All right. So as we move on, so then came the diamond. He handed me the ring in the basement of my mom's house, said his piece, and left. Because I had said, I'm done. I'm out of here. I can't do this anymore. I gotta move back in with my mom again. Thank goodness my mom has had a revolving door on her door, because I've just come in and out a million times. But we had looked at rings before. Somewhere in my mind, I thought if we get married, it would be different. That if we actually got married, that he would change. And I think sometimes people believe that if you actually do get married, that then becomes the white picket fence and the happily ever after. They don't change. But now you're just like legally bound. Okay. But we had looked at rings before, but this wasn't it. The diamond was too big. The band too thick. Everything about it louder than my own heart. I wanted simple. So this is even just another thing. If you guys remember last week, I talked about how when I did have my own duplex and everything in it was like given to me and it was all mismatched, but it was like my own. And then I came home one day and it's like he had taken everything out and bought all new stuff. And most people would be like, girl, I would love somebody to do that. No, you wouldn't. You would not want to be erased in your own home. And so this is another example of us going and actually looking at rings. And I'm simple. I just wanted cute little diamond, small band, nothing major. And then here comes this like big thing. So that wasn't for me. That was for him. That was a controlling thing for him and for show. So that when other people saw this, it was like, oh my gosh, this diamond is like gorgeous, because it wasn't even anything that I said. I wanted simple. I wanted small. Okay. But then when you say something like that, then what happens? You're the cold-hearted bitch because you're ungrateful. And so then you think, oh my gosh, am I a cold-hearted bitch? Am I spoiled? Am I a brat? And then you think, I don't even deserve this. Oh my gosh, like he's got me all of this amazing things. Like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? So it's crazy. Okay. So by then we had already uprooted our lives. Okay. I love my little duplex, but here's why we moved. Actually, why we moved. The space that finally felt like mine. But we moved out after he brought home a puppy without telling me. The landlord didn't allow pets. He seemed to think that that wasn't going to be an issue, that the landlord, that he would be able to talk it over and schmooze it over. Again, total disregard for rules. Nothing applied to him. Nothing applies to narcissists. They can get anything they want. The rules don't apply to them. So the landlord didn't allow pets. And instead of him returning the dog that we did not ask for, it became my problem. Well, I bought you this gift. Figure it out. My boys were already attached. Oh my gosh. They had lost their grandpa number 1. They had lost their grandpa number 2. Their parents had gotten divorced. Like their little hearts were already so broken. They fell in love with this little dog. And now it's like, what the hell? What are we supposed to do with this? So I packed up our things and moved us into my mom's house. And this is where it's like, my gosh, chaos and drama and all of this stuff. Hey, Christina, it was just horrible. Okay. It was just horrible. And so when we moved, like I said, this is a really difficult chapter. There's so much complexity to this time. When we had gotten back to my mom's, I was like, that's it. I'm really leaving this time. Now I lost my cute little duplex. Now I've had to uproot my sons all over again. Like, I'm really leaving this time. And that's when he brought the ring out. So another hook, another string. And then he said that he wished that he'd have known sooner that I was going to leave, like, really, because, he just bought this ring and handed it to me, said his piece, and then left. Like, honestly, that's how that went down. And I remember looking at this ring. I remember looking at it again and again and again. I remember taking a picture of it. I remember sending it to my sister and being like, oh my gosh, like, oh my gosh. And I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, is this finally it? Is this the start of my fairy tale? Is this the proof that, he really does love me? Like, OMG. How do you even think these things? But you do. You do, because you want that so badly. You want things to turn around so badly. You want to know that all of this effort, all of this pain, all of this time and energy, you want it to have counted for something. Somewhere inside you, you want to believe that you finally earned better. So it is a jacked up mind game. And that's where I found myself during this time. Let's listen to one more clipping here.
With every prayer I breathe, I'm reaching for the light. But the weight of this storm holds me back at night. I see visions of freedom, of the life I long to know. Yet my heart's locked in turmoil, unable to let go.
unable to let go. So what do? I say yes. I say yes. Finally, my dream come true. Finally, all of these years of all the chaos and all the heartbreak. And, here comes my prince, and he's going to change, and he's going to take care of everything. And he's going to, finally be there for the boys. And my God, he already got us a puppy dog. So we're already on the start of this happily ever after. So I said yes. We had the fairy tale wedding, the kind little girls dream about. It was in December inside a stone-walled castle, a literal castle. And you all know I'm the comeback queen. So I wasn't the comeback queen back then, but I was a queen. Chandeliers, huge icicles hanging like glass harps. It was snowing hard. Not many people made it. We had plenty of food, desserts, alcohol, and rows of empty seats. I still called it my fairy tale. My dress was exactly what I wanted. It was white with white lace sleeves and a crystal belt. And, on my feet were white leather snow booties with a heel and a fold over fur with a big rhinestone brooches. Oh my gosh, they were beautiful. I loved those booties. I was probably more excited about my booties than anything, my boots. But I pretty much got dressed alone. Everyone else was scrambling. I was more worried about who was helping my boys with their tuxedos. My sister slipped in just long enough to zip up my dress, but outside it's snowing and we're holding each other, smiling for the camera. Gorgeous. I mean, anybody looking on the outside in would have been amazing. Total picture perfect fairy tale. You could not have planned anything more perfect for this winter wonderland castle dream wedding. It was perfect, but underneath, nothing had changed. So here's the thing about God. Even when you're bound, He still plants visions. In the fall of 2017, so we got married that December, the following year, I started seeing flashes of a large stage, a handheld mic, sea of faces holding up tiny white lights, kind of like a concert, messages of hope, and it scared me. And I told my husband, and he laughed. Who do you think you are? That sting sent my dreams underground. I stopped saying them out loud and whispered about them to God instead. So needless to say, we got married, we get home, nothing's changed. Now you're just kind of legally stuck. There's more control, actually. I'm tiptoeing around my own home that I didn't put anything in that home. I didn't pick out the furniture. I got home one day and the whole house was painted. All the color swatches that we picked out together, none of them were used. The carpet samples, the appliances, all the things, everything in it was different. Everything in it was what he picked out. So I'm in this space, but he's my husband now. I committed, I got married, but then I start seeing these different visions and I didn't know what to do with them. And the moment I started talking about them, that's what would come out. Who the hell you think you are? So I shut them down. I kept them quiet. All right. One Saturday, I took a leadership quiz on Facebook. I was waking up. I wasn't ready to get out of bed and face the hustle and bustle and the drama and whatever was going to be waiting for me. So I'm scrolling Facebook and I see this thing. What type of leader are you? Oh, let's take the quiz. When my phone rang a few days later, I got so excited, I started sweating. It was actually a John Maxwell team. I answered every question and shared the vision burning in me. They told me I'd be a great fit. They laid out the next steps, and right there on the phone, I committed. He controlled all of our money, even though I made money. I made good money. I didn't even have access. So I asked my mom. We sat on the bench in my backyard, and she tore a check from her checkbook, pressed it into my hand, and said, "Go do it." She came to Orlando with me, and so did my youngest son, both of them watching me step into something new. I even took her to one of John Maxwell's worship services, a gift I'll never forget, something that I would have always wanted to give her. And so this is one of those things that people need to understand. I was making good money. It looked like we had everything from the outside. I didn't have access to it. And when I actually mentioned the money for the certification, he thought that was absolutely ridiculous. There was no reason to spend money on that because, once again, like, who in the hell did I think I was? What kind of vision did I have? I was going to go run off with somebody. I mean, it was such this jealous, ugly control. But I felt it. Whatever God was planting inside of me, whatever visions he was showing me of these mics and these crowds and these stages and all of this stuff, I didn't ask for those. So I didn't let it go. And I found a way. But there's nothing worse than, like, hey, mama, you're here at our huge home. You see my corporate leadership position, but can I borrow some money? And I found a way. I found a way. And we're going to dig into this a little bit deeper, but let's listen to one more clip here.
Oh God, can you hear my plea? I'm just a voice hidden, begging to be free in the chaos of the night. Can you make me whole? Plant a seed of purpose and mend my broken soul.
Okay. So I mean, it's at this point, it's hard to even describe because it's almost like you are screaming so super loud inside your own body, mind, spirit, your head. Like, you are shouting, you are pleading, you are begging, and no one can hear you. It's the scariest place to be. It's the loneliest place to be. And to me, it's truly one of the most painful places to be. It's pure agony. Oh, I think I locked up here. Did I lock up? Let's see here. Did I freeze up? Am I still going? Because my screen is frozen. Hold on. I might have to come back here. Yeah, let me, guys, I might have to come back. Let's do this one more time. Oh no, I'll be back. I'm frozen. Can you guys hear me? Because I can't see anything. No. Okay. We'll have to come back.